away we go, which means this, and of course it means this.
Look forward to be back at a normal time tomorrow. Although these 5:30, 5:40 shows, they may be a thing going forward. We'll see what the Broncos' future schedule ends up being, but
yeah. Nobody can give us a straight answer this week when we're like, is this going to be the time going forward? You know,
trying to keep everybody on
Sean. Right. So, well, whatever.
Who knows? Maybe next thing you know, he'll move it up a couple of hours, which would then mess things up for you because you couldn't do locker room.
And I love doing locker room, and I love talking to coordinators. We did just that today. Orange and blue today. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew, Mason. Not being complacent. You know, how does Sean Payton do some things differently? And you had a question for Joe Lombardi that was going to be outstanding. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. But I think this is something to
sore
examine.
Spot.
I'm going to start with the
You're
sore
going to make me angry starting the show, man. Don't do that.
Hey, Mace, poke. But here's the thing. I think we all need to
my
talk
question
about
was,
that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, your question was better. I'll say it.
It's better than last.
Yeah, let me say it because then it sounds better because I'll say it because it was. That's why I told you in the locker room. Like, that was a damn fine question. But let's start there with that kind of theme. Not resting on your laurels defensively, but with Sean Payton, he needs to get better.
He does. I mean, offensively, you can't deny, especially in the passing game, this team is at the bottom of the barrel or close to it in a lot of metrics. Now, yes, you've got a rookie quarterback, but you have some things that are improving. The run game is improving. Run blocking and pass protection have improved. Bo Nix is much more aware pocket-wise than Russell Wilson was, so that's why you've had no sacks in the last couple of games. So you have these elements there, but the bottom line right now on this offense is, and I know someone will say, "Oh, well, the bottom line is they're 2-2." Well, yeah, that's true, but a lot goes into that, including the third phase special teams. When you're looking at this offense and asking if it's good enough, there are some signs of hope, signs of progress, and you do have a rookie quarterback, and you're going to have to live with all the bumps. We've said that so many times. But by no reasonable standard is 4 touchdowns in 4 games good enough.
Yeah, and this is exactly what the chat room's already fired up about. And Mar says, this needs to be the game that Sean P makes Bo look good with better play calling. The way that I described it today, Mace, was you're playing a worse version of the Buccaneers. Like the Buccaneers defense, you can't go to the edges, you do go to the edges. In this defense, you do go to the edges, and they're more banged up than Tampa was when you played them. So this is a time for this offense to kind of come out firing. And I think Sean's first 15, we're going to know in the first drive, Mace, if things are called a little bit differently here.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about a banged up team. This is a Raiders team that had 5 defensive players, including Max Crosby, not practicing today.
Yeah. He can want to play all he wants, but if you can't practice, and he's one of those guys who doesn't need to practice to play, but like it's not trending the right way. And I don't like this, a little mini rant, Mace, if you'll forgive me. There's this new thing in the NFL of like, oh, it's a mild high ankle sprain.
Oh, God.
I didn't think that existed. A high ankle sprain means you're going to miss a month. It's a high ankle sprain.
We're putting grades on these things now. Well, I mean, there's grades of knee sprains. I get that. But a knee sprain, remember, is still a tear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a high ankle sprain is essentially broken leg. It's a fracture.
Yeah. Yeah. It's...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh.
You're going to have the opportunity if you change some things up. Should that change up be running the ball a little bit more? And maybe kind of coming out. At Tampa, you came out and you had attacked downfield. Is it maybe a little opposite this time around?
It might be. I mean, you should be aggressive in this game, but I think it's using the run to set up that aggression. This is jab, 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 take your shot over the top, take your shot and play action. I mean, and this is another thing about the Broncos. They are, I believe, in the bottom 5 of NFL teams in play action this year.
That's not the trend, by the way. The trend is more pre-snap motion, and the trend
Which the
is
Broncos
more
are dead
play-action.
last in, by the way. Dead last in pre-snap motion.
Okay, so does that answer Miranda's question here of like, why do you think it's been difficult for Sean to call a good game? No pre-snap motion, no play action. That's not the trend this league is in, and you kind of have to go with some of the trends regardless of what your system is.
Now, you have a rookie quarterback, so you want to introduce things bit by bit, so you don't want to have his plate overflowing. And we go back to week 2, and this was going to be part of the question that I asked Joe Lombardi that I didn't get, that someone else beat me to the punch on when there was only a couple of questions left. I was going to ask him about the pre-snap process, the substitution process, because remember in week 2, everything was taking too long. Well, they've smoothed things out a little bit. So if you've gotten that part of it down, right, that part of the process, right, you can move on to other things and smoothing those out and refining the process. And I think, and that's where, yeah, you can, if you've gotten the pre-snap process down to where it's more efficient, then you have the time to go in motion and do those things. Of course, that being said, motion isn't quite as effective as it used to be because defenses have learned to counter that. Because the old thing was you motion a man to see if they're in man coverage or zone coverage, right? Defenses are getting better at disguising their intent, even when you see that pre-snap motion as well. So this is not a cure-all, but you'd like to see more of it.
Yes, and one thing, and we'll go back to Sean Payton, but one thing I think that helps that, Mace, is Wade Phillips, because Wade was really not the first in the NFL, but he would run half man, half zone, and you didn't know which side of the field was which.
Mm-hmm.
VJ channeling his inner Wade Phillips this year is part of that, but Sean needs to be better and call a smoother game. It's the order in which the plays are called that I think is a bit out of sync with Sean.
What do you mean by the order? What would you change specifically with the order?
Run to set up the pass.
Okay.
Run to set up the pass.
Tampa Bay at work passed to set up the run because they were down in coverage and they were down in their pass rush. Mm-hmm. So there was an opportunity there. This game, I think, is run to set up the pass. Last week with the Jets, they passed to try to set up the run, and they passed in the rain, which you look back on and think, okay, that wasn't good. And Sean Payton acknowledged yesterday the rain did play a factor, and it did wreak some havoc on the passing game. You'll have no such concern on Sunday. It's going to be a sunny day, it looks like, at Empower Field at Mile High for the Broncos' big throwback game. But this doesn't mean you shouldn't come out and try to get the bread and butter down pat and use the run to set up the pass, and also use the run to set up more runs. Build off what you did last week. Build off the progress that you made in the second, third, and fourth quarters. Build off of Javonte Williams having his best game in what seems like forever.
Yeah. Since week 7 of last year. So not forever, but just almost a year.
I'd say maybe it's his best game since he's been back.
Okay.
I'll go a step further on that.
Okay, well, that has been almost forever. Well, another thing that the chat room's asking about is Imar asks if Salvon Ahmed is going to play or Blake Watson gets called up. The kind of general feel is that Blake Watson will be the number 3 back this week.
Give him a shot. See what he can do. Because here's the other thing. It might be his last shot for a while because Audric Estime, we haven't obviously seen him work, but he's eligible to come back from injured reserve this coming week for the game against the Chargers. And let's just say his injury wasn't the most severe. So he ought to be good to go to try to come back. They can start opening the window on him next week. But if you're Audric Estime, you come out, play well, maybe you delay the opening of that window. Right.
And if you're Blake Watson, one shot, one chance. And for me, Mace, I feel about this game the same way I did about the Jets game. Javonte, we're going to watch you. We're going to hope. We're going to believe in you, Javonte. But if it's like the second quarter and it's not working, Blake, you're up. See what you can do. I'm not saying quick hook necessarily, but just be ready for hot hand. Understand the hot hand may just be the best way that you run this thing.
It might be what you have to do all year. And then if you've got all hands on deck, it becomes a question of making sure that you have the right potential hot hands up. Because you're always going to be putting one on the inactive list, usually, right? If Tyler Bidet is not on IR by Saturday, I expect he will go on IR, but we'll see. You don't really know until then. If he's not on IR on Saturday, he's probably not going on injured reserve. But if he's not on IR, then he'll get another shot. But it may be a situation where you've got a running back inactive every week, and you just hope that the guy who's sitting on your bench is not the one who would have done the best that week.
So I would look at the matchup then, Mace. If they do what you say they should do, I would just say, okay, when you face a more high-powered team, then let's say it's Kansas City. If you face Kansas City, I want the speed guys, and I want Blake Watson up. If you're facing the Chargers and they're just going to try to pound you all day, well, pound back. And that's where, lots of Estime, lots of Javonte, and then the speed guys don't get as much.
Yeah, it's the old Bill Belichick way of using running backs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sharon wants to see our belt buckles.
Did you get one today?
You know it.
Grab
it.
There's the belt buckle.
There's my belt buckle. See, look, we're twins.
Something I learned today.
What did you learn today?
The belt buckle was a top wish list item for Christmas in 1977.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Okay. So in 77, everybody wanted belt buckles, huh? Oh,
yes.
This is sharp. This is beautiful. It's got some heft to it. Yeah, look at that. Oh, man. At the official NFL merchandise logo on the back. But, yeah, man. This is outstanding.
It was one of the items. I'm actually going here. I found this. Most wanted Christmas gifts of 1977. Okay.
Okay.
An Atari 2600. Of
course.
Gold cowboy boots. Indoor and outdoor leisure suits. Petticoats and pantaloons prints. King Kong ski mask and mittens, belt buckles, and I'm looking at this little picture of belt buckles here has the Superman logo, a football, a couple of Elton John belt buckles, and a $6 million man belt buckle, and a belt buckle with a picture of Farrah Fawcett from the famous poster from back in the 70s.
Okay, nice, righteous, man. I like that.
Speaking of Farrah Fawcett, the official Farrah Fawcett beanbag chair is number 7 on this list.
Okay. Got to have your beanbag chair back in the day. That is for sure. It is orange and blue today. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason talking about how to make the offense a little bit different, a little bit better. There's been some tight end questions this week, Mace. To Sean Payton specifically yesterday. Is that even going to be a thing? Now, Mike Kliss did say earlier today, Kroll was close to getting a jersey last week. Well, close doesn't matter because he didn't. And, perhaps the effort as a blocker they see in practice isn't what they want to see, and that's why he hasn't gotten a jersey. But my argument, Mace, is he's not a blocker. But if Dulcich isn't getting open, and remember, it was before the Buccaneers game, he was on the injury report with a little knee ankle thing. Knee ankle, that's not even really close. Ankle foot is closer, but knee ankle, it's from here to here. We don't know. But it's okay, is that and he's not on the injury report now, but it's okay, but we see it. Dulcich isn't getting open, man. So is it Donald Parham getting called up? Is it Lucas Kroll? Is it just no tight ends? You're just not going to use your tight ends.
Maybe it's a shin. Maybe you're splitting the difference.
Okay. In the middle somewhere.
Yes. Look, as Mike Shanahan would say, if you're not getting the job done, you got to go get another guy.
Get another guy.
You try somebody else. If they're not getting the job done, you try somebody else. And while Sean Payton does not put much emphasis on dividing the season into quarters, which you really can't anyway, because now it's 17 games. But from 1978 through 2020, with the exception of strike years, it was 16 games. So you could say 16, 4, 4, 4, 4. Well, so there's still a lot of that old school viewing around the NFL of saying, okay, you take a stock of things after 4 games. What would taking stock of Greg Dulcich's reveal? That he's not been productive. Someone like him has to be a dynamic target. He's not getting open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think you're probably, if not there, very close to a point where you say, okay, let's try somebody else, whether it's Lucas Kroll or Donald Parham. Now, Parham may not have enough knowledge in the scheme just yet to do it, although he is familiar with the scheme from time with Joe Lombardi with the Los Angeles Chargers. He still has to kind of work his way back up because that was a couple of years ago.
How much 12 personnel would we see then? Because we see a lot of 12 personnel now. Kliss believes in our talks with the great Mike Kliss is like, oh, well, Sean loves the extra blocker on the field. Okay, that's maybe true. And yes, Kroll isn't the blocker that Troutman is or Nate Atkins is. I mean, that's what the holdup here is Atkins, because Atkins is such a great blocker, but he's no threat as a receiver. So do you
they've
change
tried
personnel? I know they've tried. Do you change your personnel? Is Sean open to that? I think Sean should be, but do you think that he would be open to a change in personnel?
If not now, I think it's getting close.
Could 21 be the answer? 2 running backs? You have a fullback, so why not have your full? And he could even motion over to whatever side that you're worried about with the pass rush.
He's also one of your best special teams players too. Talking about Michael Burton.
Yeah.
He's useful. Why not?
Yeah.
And he has some ball skills. We see him in practice. We see him in training camp from time to time. The guy's he's got a few ball skills. He's not a total void there. He's not Andy Janovich, but he's not a total void. Jano. Love Jano.
22 Janos.
We don't have Brock Olivo anywhere in the gifts, do we?
Oh, probably not. Did you put Brock in? You put Brock in, right?
Yeah, maybe see if it's there. Like,
it's
just
still
unless
there.
It got deleted.
No. It's still there, right here.
Yeah, that's Brock Olivo when he's asked about Jano. Look at the eyes. The eyes and the jaw drops.
I love him.
Jano. Love Jano. If we had 22 Janos, we'd be okay. All right.
You'd be all right, man.
How would this team be with 22 Michael Burtons? All right.
All right. Yeah. How would it be? Like this, huh? 22. Yes.
Brock Olivo, former fullback, loved him some fullbacks.
Yes. Yep. For sure. Loved him some fullbacks, and maybe that's part of the answer. I'm not sure, Mace, but something needs to change because Bo needs more help, and it's not just the wide receivers, tight ends as well.
He needs more help. At the same time, you are getting some good things out there. Like you're getting good play on the offensive line. I'd say the offensive line and Bo Nix's ability to avoid sacks, which, as Sean Payton will tell you, a lot of that's on the quarterback more so than the protection. The offense has some good things happening. They're not sexy things, but they're good. But there are some good things, good to where we shouldn't be talking about this unit as a bottom 5 unit for hopefully much longer.
I hope not. Osbaldo Espinoza. So, all right, yes. Osbaldo. Can't wait to see Devon Vele play. Here's my thing. Don't stop making fetch a thing. It's not working with Troy Franklin. Not yet. Doesn't mean it can't. Doesn't mean it won't. Doesn't mean it's the future and he's a Pro Bowler later on in his career. But right now, it's working with Devon Vele. It's not with Troy Franklin. Get the kid a jersey again.
Worked for one game and then he cracked a rib. But Devon Vele, you and I spoke with him on Wednesday. Sounds like a guy that's really chomping at the bit to get back out there.
Yeah. How would you describe our interaction with Devon? Because he was very kind. He was very polite to us, but it was almost like when we talked to JL. Remember last year? We talked to JL and he'd be like, yeah, I don't know why I'm not playing. And I kind of got that sense. Devon was very polite. He didn't say anything wrong. He didn't say anything controversial. But Devon is he's a little amped up, Mace. That's kind of the way I felt. How about you? What did you think when we talked to him?
I felt something similar. I actually specifically asked him if he had some frustration, and he said, there's moments where I think about that a little bit, but at the same time, I've been on a winning streak. So it's like he quickly got back into team first mode, but there was that moment where he admitted there's some frustration there, which it's fine. You're only human, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Only human. Also, Osbaldo asks about the Kyle Pitts rumor. I did talk to a league source today. I'll tell you off air who it was. No on Pitts, no on the T Higgins thing that Stokes suggested. I did say if you look outside the building at tight ends available, there is one, Mace. We know him well. He's got great hair. His name's Dallin Holker. But I think they have the answer in their building, or they don't have the answer at all.
Where did the Kyle Pitts rumor start?
I'm not exactly sure. It might have started by Mark Schlereth suggested it, something like that.
Why would the Falcons, who fancy themselves a contender, why would they trade Kyle Pitts?
I'll tell you more off air, but maybe a fresh start is needed. That's the best way I can answer it. But
maybe that fresh start, because they picked up the 5th-year option on him, right?
They did, yes. Yep.
Do the fresh start in the off season.
Yeah. How high is Troy Franklin's ceiling? Well, they got to connect better first, and they force it, Mace, and that's the one thing. And maybe it's just me guessing, but when I watch these passes to Troy Franklin that don't connect, I'm like, you're forcing it, man. With Vele, he was like the security blanket, and he was there. He wasn't necessarily open, but that's a good thing. Like, he wasn't this wide separation. He's wide open, but it wasn't forcing it to him. It just happened to be 8 targets, 8 catches, because he was the struggle target. Is what they call it. He was the struggle target.
Yeah, and that's why he averaged under 5 yards per reception.
Yeah.
He was the bailout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes you need the bailout, Mace.
Yeah. The yards of separation for the receivers. Well, you got one guy who gets separation. For some reason, they won't get him the ball.
Yeah. For whatever reason that is.
The curious case of Marvin Mims Jr. By the way, I was thinking about this last night because I'm in year 2 of a dynasty on Retro Bowl. The best part about Retro Bowl is the games you can play in like 4 minutes. So you can get a dynasty really quick. You don't need a lot. It doesn't take a lot of time.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's literally what I do when I've got writer's block, or I just need a break from whatever I'm working on.
We have to shut off our brains sometimes.
And that's how I shut off my brain. So I'm in year 2 of the dynasty on Retro Bowl. Marvin Mims Jr. is electric. Like, I've done well enough to where he's added attributes. He's as fast as you can get now. And he's just I'm making plays with him all over the place. Bo Nix to Marvin Mims Jr. is setting the NFL on fire in Retro Bowl.
Good to know.
Yes.
Good to know. Also, because he's asked 3 times with different times. Vegas Larry, first off, we appreciate you. You're one of our regulars here on OBT.
Yes.
OBT is at 4:30 on Wednesdays and Thursdays when their schedule's normal. It's been at 5:30 this week because their schedule's not normal. He did ask if my new gig was causing a delay. It's causing us to figure out our pre-record times. But other than that, OBT should be at 4 or 4:30 unless this is the new Broncos schedule, and then we have to adapt.
Yeah, if we get more weeks like this, you will be seeing 5:30 shows on the regular.
Yes. Yep. And we're
because
sorry, but that's just kind of what we have to do.
Well, part of it is also, and we appreciate those of you rolling with us live.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely grateful to you. But the show has a significant non-live audience watching Time Shifted.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, we feel like it's important to give you a show that has a fairly complete wrap of the day when there's real news to talk about. That something emerges from press conference. Today it was pretty quiet, the press conferences. I think you and I were most, you got a little bit torqued when I told you what question I want to ask.
Yeah.
That I want to ask Joe Lombardi, because for some reason they limited him to 4 questions today, and I don't know why.
Really weird.
Something I need to get to the bottom of. Usually Joe will answer 7 or 8 questions, which is usually enough to get to most of the people that would have them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But with 2 questions to go, I had like 1 chance to get it in, and I lost. It's like on Family Feud where you gotta get to the buzzer. I was a split second late. Someone else got in. The worst though is like when I start asking a question and someone else goes in. It's like what the, and then they'll keep going, and that's when I get really frustrated.
Yeah.
There are sometimes I don't like being out there. That's one of those times. It's honestly one of the reasons, Cecil, why I prefer going to the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in the locker room, there's a lot more. I've got a lot more control over the flow of an interview. This is so inside baseball. I apologize to those of you who are watching and not interested in the mechanisms of media covering the NFL, but I enjoy the locker room conversations as well. A lot more. You'll hear from Cody Barton on the Friday and Saturday shows. I had a chance to chat with him about wearing the green dots and about getting to know VJ's scheme and all that. And he had some interesting things to say. So, and also talk with him about the uniforms. We're gonna get into the uniforms, but I have to say it's a Friday show. But I'm gonna say today was the first glimpse of the helmets, because they wore the Guardian caps for practice yesterday. They did not wear the Guardian caps today. So we saw the helmets. Oh my God. When I saw the sunlight hitting off of those legacy blue helmets, it was a thing of beauty. And all of us in the media, we're just looking around each other like, this is right. This is right.
The
helmets look gorgeous. No one else in the league has that shade of blue, whereas a bunch of teams have navy. That's kind of my thing, is that you look around, Cowboys use navy, Bears use navy. Rams, Seahawks use a lot of navy. Rams fortunately got away from it. Houston loses navy. The Chargers have a navy in their ensemble, right? I mean, but there's the Broncos blue. It's not light blue. It's not like a Charger blue or a Titans/Oilers blue. Titans use navy as well. It's the Broncos blue is its own thing. It's a little bit. It's darker than the light blue of the Chargers and the Titans. It's but it's not quite royal blue like the Buffalo Bills. It just looks good. It just pops. I'm getting a little emotional talking about those helmets, but my goodness, Cecil, seeing them out there today in action. So it's the first time we've seen those helmets for a day of Broncos work since Thanksgiving Day 2001. Oh,
yeah. Brian Greasy was the last Broncos quarterback to wear that helmet.
Who was the opposing quarterback that day for the Dallas Cowboys?
Was it Quincy Carter?
Nope.
Who was it?
Ryan Leaf.
Ooh, whoa, okay, right. That was one of those stops, like you get those NFL stops where guys like, I forgot Ryan Leaf was with the Cowboys. It's like Jim McMahon with the Packers, right?
Yeah, Jim McMahon got a ring with the Packers. He was Brett Favre's backup.
Yep.
With Ryan Leaf, he was in Tampa Bay's camp that summer, and got cut, and then went to Dallas, started 3 games. That was his final start. Ryan Leaf's numbers in his final start as a professional. Final game, period, as a professional. 16 of 30, 293 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, 1 fumble lost, 2 times fumbled the football overall. 26-24 Broncos held off the Cowboys late for a win. They led 26-3 with 11 minutes to go. Dallas had a furious rally that fell short.
Okay. Our chat room loves you with the contacts look, Mace.
Not contacts. It's just I misplaced my glasses.
Can you see
I gotta find them. I can see you. Yes.
Okay. How bad are your eyes? Because my eyes before LASIK were awful, like just terrible.
They're fine. Like I can read Nate Albert, Mace rocking the no specs look.
Okay.
I'm fine. I can read across the room. I could read the television over here while I'll be watching
so you
Tampa
could drive
Bay versus Atlanta.
Right. You could drive.
Oh, driving is actually where I have to wear glasses.
Okay.
Because I can't, like, on the eye test, there's a certain distance from which I can't read the signs. Now, I'd say I can't read, like, I generally know what's on a road sign, so I can put 2 and 2 together.
Right. Right.
You know, it's like for someone who has dyslexia, you can make out, you can basically put it together, the word together usually, because you can get most of it, but there are some letters that kind of get cross-wired. So
is Daniel K correct? You're the soccer guy, not me, and I'm pretty sure Daniel K is correct. But he says, been watching Europe soccer press conferences. Dude, get to ask full lines of questions all the time. It's odd watching NFL pressers. Our soccer pressers are longer.
They are, but it's also different in terms of access to the players because you don't get to go in the locker room. You talk with players in what's called a mixed zone. Player availability can be much more limited. I think, for example, Erling Haaland of Manchester City at one point went months without talking to the press. That'd be like going months without Bo Nix doing a press conference. So, give and take. I'm always a little afraid that the NFL is going to get the win. The NFL is going to take the mixed zone idea from soccer overseas, from the Olympics, and put it into practice in pro football. And then you might have like 5 guys coming by at the same time. You got to choose which one to grab to try to talk to, and then you don't get the others. Oh well, like it's Mace of Base. So he saw the sign. My gosh. do 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 do.
All that
I saw the sign.
Is another baby. Light and Sweet Baby, right?
What?
That was their other hit. They had more than one hit.
No, they also had Beautiful Life.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, All That She Wants, like that one's their worst song, I think, of the ones that were released.
And it got played ad nauseum.
Yeah, if you were around in 1993, 1994, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's right. All right. We wrapping? What are we doing, Mace? What's going on here? What are we doing?
I think we're wrapping.
Okay. We are wrapping.
I think we yes. Come bust a move where the games are played. It's chill. It's fresh. It's Noah's Arcade. Another old reference. I got this commercial where I rap.
Right. That's awesome. That's incredible. All right. We've got our Saturday pregame show coming up for you. We've got a Friday show about the uniforms. Make sure to stay tuned for that. Mace will be doing his stand-ups outside of the stadium. Feels good to be home. What about you, Mace? I mean, your home's in multiple spots, but like, feels good to be back in Denver, right? The players
We're
are
all
sure
glad. We're all glad to be back, seeing the sun.
Yeah, I think it was Coop that told us that, right?
We were suffering from lack of vitamin D, but yes, we didn't see the sun last week. We may have seen the sign, but we didn't see the sun. It was an invisible sun.
That's right. At least it wasn't a black hole sun. Had to get Soundgarden in there. Anyway, that's a wrap for today's program, and we thank everyone for coming out live. Again, we're kind of sticking and moving with the Broncos, so please just help us out and do all that, and we'll be more regular with our show times. We'll be more regular as the Broncos schedule gets a little bit more set. This week was an hour later, so our show was an hour later. Hopefully it's not next week, but we shall see. And if we have to change the show time to start, we will. And we'll let you know. But we need your help, Mace. Yes?
It's good to be regular.
Yes, it is. It's good to help us out.
Yeah. You can help us out, help keep things flowing, help keep those pipes clear by liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and then hitting that notification bell so that you never miss a vid.
All right. I got you. He's Andrew Mason. He's spectacular. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying thank you very much. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty?